I know, but made mistakes and had no clue sheet. How did that work?
I think it made them aware of the simple mistakes that they did make. It's like, oh, I didn't catch that part. Like one of them was they had to put the things in order from length from shortest to greatest, but there was millimeters and centimeters, and they didn't catch the fact that the unit of measurement had changed. They just went 140 is bigger than 90 and 80 is less than 90 and in order that way. They didn't pay any attention to the units of measurement. When we went back over it, they're like, oh, well, then I would have been able to get it right if I'd have caught that. They didn't even catch it with centimeters and millimeters.
And then one of my students even said, well, did you even look to see what those things were, Miss Woods? One of them was a table and the next one was an eraser. I just looked at the names of the things, Miss Woods. One of them was an eraser. I knew that table was a lot bigger than the eraser. So I thought that was smart. She said, that's how I knew the difference between what they were. She said, but then I went back and saw centimeters and millimeters to see the difference. So she kind of helped the rest of the class to understand. She said, sometimes on those questions, you just got to use a little bit of common sense.
Well, see, my students didn't even remember what they had picked on that day. So what I did is I put that paper in a box somewhere. And I took the test on the Elmo, and I went over the test and made them mark down the answers again. And then we went over every answer, and then they told me why they missed it at that time. It wasn't that they remembered what they missed on, February 2nd. It was what they missed that day and why. So we analyzed each question we missed that day. That way they knew what they were missing that day. And I taught the question what they missed. I taught millimeters and centimeters. And then they're redoing it, and the things they missed, they wrote down why they missed it. They took notes, and
Do you think they understand it more
much
now?
better this way. Where when I gave them this paper, they go, "Oh, I missed it because I missed it." Yeah.
They didn't, okay.
This didn't work for them at all. Now, maybe it worked for you guys. You probably are doing a much better job of teaching it that way than I did, but for me, it didn't work at all.
Well, we checked what they got right and what they missed, and that way, before we went each one, I asked for a show of hands of who got it right or who missed it, and then we broke down each and every answer for all of the acuity and language arts and math. And then we went back, and I'm like, okay, if you don't understand it now, raise your hand, and we'll go back over it. And then hopefully by the end, they all were saying they understood. And I hope our scores for the next acuity, that they'll take their time and realize some of the little mistakes they made this
Well,
time.
then what I did is I copied 10 of the test,
Right.
and I gave Mr. Sawyer's his kids, and I gave them another little book. I love these little books. And you're going over it again, right?
Went over it on the board, we'll just score through the examples, and I'm giving other examples with it,
Right.
and also doing
So it's more of a teaching
Reteaching.
score now, and not more of like, oh, I missed it because I just didn't feel like thinking about it or something.
Okay, how are we knowing though that they know it in the end? I mean, how are they generalizing it to just any question that would be about centimeters or millimeters?
Well, in math, what we've been doing, like Mr. Sawyer says, is the ones that the class as a whole, you can see they're not grasping, then we'll dedicate a day of investigations to that particular skill. That's what we did last week when we all pre-planned a lesson, because all three classes were having trouble with 3 different skills. So she took a skill, Mrs. Woods took a skill, and I took a skill. We taught it to all 3 classes. Like ratio was a big thing. They didn't understand ratio, so we spent 30 minutes in all 3 fourth grades on ratio.
So each of you taught one skill to all three classes.
Yes.
So the kids are getting the exact same thing,
Information.
same
Right.
information. Okay,
Right.
great.